Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Sometimes I think we sit here and we complain about coaches and it's low-hanging fruit, right? The offense struggles, well, fire the offensive coordinator. The defense struggles, well, let's go ahead and fire the defensive coordinator. Let's talk about some of the names we've mentioned throughout the course of the year, right? Joey Halzle probably first and foremost. We've seen this offense drop off from 2022, the record-breaking numbers. Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt. Like, you also got to look back to Alex Golish. We talk about how Joey Halzle has to be more creative. Who's to blame for that? Is it Joey Halzle? Is it Josh Heupel? Is it a kind of a combination of all of those things? Look, something I liked, and I mentioned this in a video that's going to be dropped sometime in the near future, wink, wink, nod, nod, spoiler alert, but in the Mike Matthews negotiations, Austin Price said some of those negotiations were about the offense. What was this offense going to do in 2025 to look more dynamic in the passing game? Mike, he visited Tennessee in 2022 for the Alabama game when Jalen Hyatt became a legend, torch Alabama up and down the field, and that's what he wanted to be a part of. We've not seen that since 2022. So, again, is it Alex Golish? Is it Joey Halzle? Is it Josh Heupel? Who's to blame there? We can also talk about Kelsey Pope. We want to talk about offense. I think Kelsey Pope definitely on maybe the hot seat. Look, he lost 5 guys to the transfer portal. That happened for a reason. Brew and Dante Thornton out of eligibility. He's recruited well, but we've not really seen that translate into the college football playing field. He did get Mike Matthews to return. That was huge. We'll see what Kelsey Pope does in the transfer portals coming up in the next month or so. Glenn Ellerbe, kind of similar to Kelsey Pope, right? A guy that we've seen recruit well the last couple of cycles. He struggled in the class of 22, the class of 23. The only blue chipper he landed was Addison Nichols. Talked a lot about this yesterday in my video about a class of 26 prospect. If you missed that about Gabriel Ascenda, go back and check that out. But the last 2 cycles, Glenn Ellerbe's been pretty good. Bennett Warren, William Satterwhite, Max Anderson, all guys ranked around the top 300. Lance Hurd, you added him in the portal. You got David Sanders. You got Nick Moore in the class of 25. You still got to question that development, though. But we look at the coaches coming back in 2025. You only got 3 guys whose contracts will expire. Those contracts expire on January the 31st. First, Willie Martinez. Does he retire or does he come back? I think that choice is up to him. Mike Eckler, also, his contract expires on the 31st. And the one that's probably the most polarizing coach on this football team, and that is Tim Banks, the defensive coordinator. You love him. You hate him. When I talk about Tim Banks, when I make a video, man, it is so polarizing. Some people think Tim Banks has done a great job with this defense. Some people comment and tell me that I'm an idiot, and I don't know anything that I'm talking about when I try to defend Tim Banks. That's how polarizing he is. But guess what? Tim Banks is a Broyles Award finalist. What is that? That award recognizes the best assistant coach in college football. This is directly from an On3 article. Says the winner of the 2024 Broyles Award will come from a group made up of Arizona State offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo, Indiana defensive coordinator and linebackers coach Bryant Haynes, Notre Dame defensive coordinator Al Golden, Tennessee defensive coordinator Tim Banks, and Texas defensive coordinator and outside linebackers Pete Kowalski. Banks at Tennessee was equally impressive as a Broyles Award finalist. The Volunteers featured one of the best defensive fronts in the country, making life a living hell on opposing offenses. Tennessee ranked 4th in both total defense and scoring defense, while checking in at number 8 in rushing defense and number 9 in passing efficiency defense. So what are the latest rumors on Tim Banks? Some people want him gone. Some people just want him to move on and go elsewhere. Other people think we need Tim Banks back for the 2025 season. His name is being floated around with a couple of ACC programs. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. I need y'all to do me that YouTube stuff real quick. Smash the thumbs up just below the video. It's quick, it's free, it's easy, it helps the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. If you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. We're not experts here. We're not insiders, media, journalists, reporters. We don't pretend to be that. What we are is what you are, fans. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. If you like what we do, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. You're not going to miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. Live every Tuesday night at 6:30. We play EA Sports College Football. We talk all things Vol football. I talked to Coach Jay yesterday. I think we're going to do a live stream on Wednesday. As long as there's plenty to talk about, we're planning to go live. Talkin VAWLS live Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So come hang out for that. But let's talk about some of the rumors around Tim Banks. You can see this post on Twitter. Tennessee defensive coordinator Tim Banks' name continues to be linked to defensive coordinator roles in the ACC. Does Banks leaving Knoxville for Miami or Clemson make sense? Why would he leave the top 10 defense he has helped build? Would he be a big – he would be a big win for one of these programs. And I'll start there, man. You look at these rumors from Miami, you look at these rumors from Clemson. Their fan base would be tickled to death to have Tim Banks. I think that always tells you a little something, right? Maybe the grass isn't always greener. Maybe we get rid of Tim Banks and we don't bring in a defensive coordinator that's maybe anywhere close to as good as Tim Banks. And you can say what you want. You can yell at me and say we didn't play anybody, that we didn't do this, that we didn't do that, that those numbers that we rattle off, top 5 in scoring defense, top 5 in total defense, 8th in rushing defense. Those numbers don't mean anything because we've not played anybody. All right, let's flush numbers down the toilet. Let's look at a complete body of work in the 4 years that Tim Banks has been here. He came in, this defense was depleted. There was nobody left on the roster. Jeremy Pruitt, defensive specialist, his team ranked 69th in scoring defense. That's before the mass exodus. That's before Keyshawn Lawrence. That's before Henry Toa and Cravaris Crouch. Your 2 starting linebackers hit the portal. Tim Banks comes in and he makes this defense better year in and year out. So are you telling me that in 4 years at Tennessee, that Tennessee has not played anybody, that Tim Banks has not schemed up against anybody? And I get it. I understand the frustrations. I understand the frustrations for the big games, the Ohio States, the Georgias. I understand that. We have to take that next step. But we're talking about a defense that returns a lot of guys in 2025. You want to flush this down the toilet? You want to start over? You want our defense, the guys that are coming back that have been in this system for 2, 3, 4 years, you want them to learn a new scheme going into 2025 when that's when push comes to shove? I mean, let me just call a spade a spade. If you're ready to run Tim Banks out of town, you're going to be ready to run Josh Heupel out of town when the defense underperforms next year because these guys are trying to grasp a new system. That's just me going to bat for Tim Banks. You can believe whatever it is that you want to believe. There are rumors floating around again around Miami. Pete Nakos put out an update on New Year's Eve about Miami. He said one of the hottest defensive coordinator names in the nation. Hear that? Do I need to read that again? One of the hottest defensive coordinator names in the nation. Interesting. Tim Banks directed a Tennessee defense in 2024 that ranked in the top 10 nationally in total defense. Volunteers allowed just 293 yards and 16 points per game. Tennessee struggled against Ohio State in the college football playoff, but Banks' defense shut down the SEC for most of the season. Sources tell On3 that Banks could listen to Miami and Mario Cristobal. In the 3 previous seasons, the Vols led the SEC in tackles for loss per game with 7.62 and third in turnovers gained per game with 1.44. Now, Brent Hubbs was just recently on 104.5 The Zone's Ramon, Kayla, and Will. A to Z Sports kind of put out an article that has the quotes that he gave, kind of covering this grand scheme of things, including the Clemson job. Here's what Hubbs had to say. I don't think there's going to be anything that happens with Miami. I don't think Miami is a place that Banks has much interest in. I guess you could never say never, but it certainly doesn't feel like, in talking to as many people as we could talk to, that there's anything of any significance going on with Miami. So he shuts down that one. His name is being floated out there, but I don't think anything's going to happen there. Clemson is more interesting. We'll see. Clemson's in a little bit of a unique spot in that they're waiting to see if Coach Wes Goodwin, their defensive coordinator, takes the job at Oklahoma. He's been rumored to be a top candidate there for Brent Venables. The two work together at Clemson. He's since been canned. He's gone. If he goes to Oklahoma, it saves Clemson some money if he goes on his own. If he gets fired, then they've got to pay him his buyout money. And then there's mitigated number in there that would not get his full buyout if he took a job at Oklahoma or somewhere else. Though this is a financial deal right now. They're waiting to see how everybody can get their money. Now, with that job officially becomes open, and I think it's absolutely going to be open, it is open. There's too many quality reporters reporting that it's going to happen for it not to be the case, in my opinion. Then it gets interesting to see where Tim Banks would be with that job. How much interest would he have in that job? And would he have any interest at all? How comfortable is he at Tennessee? I think he likes it at Tennessee. I think his wife likes it there in town. I think she's comfortable here. But he did not get a contract extension. This is why I'm making this video. This quote, very interesting. He did not get a contract extension last offseason, and he coached this year on an expiring deal. And I think that was bothersome for Banks because of what he's done the last 3 years in building the defense. Statistically, they've gotten better each year, and he was not extended in the offseason. Now, when the Miami deal popped out, when that rumor was floating around, the Tim Banks contract was something I mentioned because that gives him leverage. That gives his agent leverage. So even if he does return to Tennessee, I think it's going to cost Tennessee some more money because he is coaching on that expired deal. Goes on to say, I think that's something he's got to work through and figure out if he's comfortable with everybody here. He has a deal in place to sign. He's had it for a while. I think right now he's looking at that, and I'm sure his agent's out there talking on the phone, and we'll see what materializes with Clemson. I think Clemson is much more realistic than Miami in terms of being possibly interested in the job. Don't necessarily mean it's more realistic that he's leaving, but I don't think Miami is ever going to materialize into even an interview. I could certainly see Clemson potentially doing that. So a lot there from Brent Hubbs on 104.5 The Zone. Again, I think the expiring contract, I think it hurts Tennessee because if you want Tim Banks back, you're probably going to have to pay more. Or does Tim Banks move on and end up in the ACC? And if so, where does Tennessee go from there? It's easy to say, fire Tim Banks, get rid of him. Who are you going to hire? Who are you going to go hire? Put it in the comments. I would love to see it. Smash that thumbs up on the way out the door. Let me know your thoughts. I know, controversial figure. Either you hate Tim Banks or you love Tim Banks. And when you hate Tim Banks, you hate me. It's a whole big lumped up thing, and that's all right. You can smash the thumbs up, and we can talk about it in the comment section over there below. As always, again, smash the thumbs up. Go check out the Talkin VAWLS merchandise, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You can also support the channel by hitting that join button down below. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. It keeps the lights on around here, particularly through the off season. We appreciate that support. The links are in the description below to do that as well. Look, we can agree, disagree. Let's talk about Tim Banks. Do that in the comment section because this is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name's Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.